Hello YouTube, and welcome to the T-Freak Adventures channel. Hey, first of all, I gotta say sorry for not having posted in a while. I've been kind of absent from YouTube for a little over a year probably, but I have a good reason. So like a year ago, we purchased a home. We had been renting and we purchased a home, and along with that purchase there came some remodeling, and so I have been hard at work for the last year doing that remodeling. Now looking back on it, I wish I had brought you guys all along on the journey, but there is one thing that I want to show you that I've done, because I'm pretty sure there are some of you out there who probably have a similar problem as I did when I moved into the new house, and perhaps there's something that that you might want to do similar to what I did. All right, so when we bought our house, it's a two-story house. It's got a basement level and then an upstairs level. The basement originally, when the house was built, had a two-car garage, and somewhere along the line, one of the owners took the garage doors out and replaced those with French doors. The downstairs was basically two big rooms, and I think there was like a half bath downstairs as well, like a toilet and a sink. And so we just completely renovated that space and have a really large bedroom that we built down there. We transformed the half bath into a full bath. But what I want to show you in this video is what we did with the ceiling. So when we moved in, like I told you, the ceilings just had plywood. They had gone through and they had put plywood on the ceilings in the basement. There's only one problem with that. Almost all of the plumbing, the electrical, everything, the heating and air, all of it runs through the ceiling of the basement. And so if the plywood's up there, there's absolutely no way you can access any of that without pulling all of this plywood down. And man, that was just a pain. I did not want to have to do that, but I wanted to have easy access in case there was a leak, in case I needed to run some wiring for some other plugs or switches or whatever I wanted to do, or even if I wanted to do some work on the HVAC system. And so I knew that the plywood had to go. And so I started looking into what can I do for a ceiling in the basement. And everywhere that I looked, all I could come up with was people saying, well, you need to do like a drop ceiling. But I'm just telling you, I absolutely hate the way that drop ceilings look. I mean, if this was an office building or a doctor's office or something like that, or a school, yeah, a drop ceiling would be fine. But I don't want my house to have a drop ceiling in it. I just hate that look. It just looks, I don't know. It's a personal thing, but to me it just looks tacky. But it is very easy to access all of the stuff that's in the ceiling if you have a drop ceiling. So I began to think about a way that I could kind of create a drop ceiling that doesn't look like a drop ceiling. And what I came up with was a coffered ceiling. But it's not really a coffered ceiling, it's a fake coffered ceiling. So first, before I show you that, I want to show you all of these before photos. This is what the basement looked like. Okay, so those are all the before photos. And so now let me kind of walk you through what I did. First thing we did is we came downstairs, we built a bunch of walls and made some new rooms and stuff like that. Okay, but what did we do for the ceiling? I went through and I built a grid attached to the floor joist from the bottom. And that was going to be the grid that my coffered ceiling would fit in. Basically what my coffered ceiling does is each 2x4 runs perpendicular, or each line of 2x4s, let me put it that way, runs perpendicular to the floor joist. And in between, I decided to use sheetrock for my coffered ceiling panels. And so I put my 2x4s in to create a grid. And then on the bottom of the 2x4, I put a 1x4 piece of trim that goes all the way down the length of the 2x4, and then 1x4 that came perpendicular to that to create a rectangular grid. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to take one piece of sheetrock and be able to get about 3 panels out of it. If you decide to do this yourself and you're deciding how big you want your panels to be, sheetrock, if you go over a very large span, it will bow in the middle. And I wanted to avoid that. Along the edges, all 4 edges are supported by this grid that I built. Remember, I have a 2x4 on each side. In between the different sections, I put a 2x2. And so that leaves a 2-inch gap above every, it's not really 2 inches, it's like 1 3/4 gap above every one of those separators, okay? Now what that did is that kept everything square, and everything is all tied together very good. So like there's no movement, no flexing. It's all really strong. In hindsight, I think I could have got by without using those 2x2s in between, and I could have just used my 1x4s. The trim on the bottom would have served the same purpose. So I've actually kind of over-engineered mine a little bit. But the beautiful thing about what that creates is now I can take a panel, push it up, and slide it over on top of the panel that's next to it. And so one whole row is like 5 or 6 panels, and all of those will kind of pick up and move on top of the next one, so they kind of accordion on top of one another. And if I needed to, I could get the whole ceiling kind of out of the way in 15-20 minutes, because they would all just pick up, slide on top of the one that's next to them, and you could just keep going down the line until you have fully exposed all of your all of your ceiling. And so you can get to all of your stuff. So all of that being said, let me show you how it turned out, okay? All right, so like I said, all these walls, we built all these walls. You can see this. This is the 1x4 panels. The 1x4 trim that I used, and I haven't painted this one yet. So, and I haven't painted the sheetrock. So, this is still being worked on, and you can see that I used screws to attach all of this. And then what I don't know if you know you can do this, but what I did in here, because I wanted it to look finished, I wanted everything to look really nice, is I went back with sheetrock mud, and you can fill in these screw holes. I don't know if you knew you could use sheetrock mud, but you don't have to go buy a ton of spackling. I had a bunch of sheetrock mud left over from doing these walls, from floating all the sheetrock on these walls. And so I took that sheetrock mud and I filled in these screw holes. It takes a couple of times because as the sheetrock mud dries out, it kind of shrinks and it'll leave a little divot. And so you just go back and you do it again. And then I use, let me show you what kind of sheetrock mud I use, and forgive all the mess, because like I said, this is a work in process. I used this dust control sheetrock mud, and you don't even have to sand it. You can just take a damp sponge and rub it down, and it kind of flattens everything out and gives you a nice finish. So here, this is what the finished look looks like. I'm in the process of painting, and so you can see this is what the coffered ceiling is going to look like when it's completely done. It's going to be gray panels with the white trim. So all my white trim is done. Now I'm in the process of painting the panels. I'm going to show you, man, these are LED recess lights that are in the panels, and it is really cool what I came up with to make this work, because these lights, if you've looked at these LED recess lights, they're just little pucks, and I have figured out a way to make them where they move with the panels. So if I needed to move a panel, that LED light goes right with it. So let me show you, I'm gonna move this panel right here so that you can get an idea of how this works, all right? So this just lifts up, and they're kind of sticky right now because I painted, all right? So it just lifts up, and look at this. It slides just like that. And if I needed to, I could slide it all the way down. Right now it's hitting the cord of that light right there. But I could slide it all the way down, and then I have access to this area right here. And this one right here, I could do the same thing. All of these, I can pick them up, slide them down, and if I wanted to, I could slide them all the way to the end of each of these big rows, and they just kind of be stacked on that last one. And yeah, this whole area I would then be able to access. So look, you can see here what I did. I kind of already explained it to you. Here's my 2x4. It runs perpendicular to all my floor joists. I have just I've taken 2-inch wood screws and screwed through the joist from the top, because these are floor trusses. So I screwed through the truss from the top into the 2x4, and then at the ends of each 2x4, I joined that to the next 2x4 with one of these metal plates, just to keep everything straight and to keep everything connected well. I wanted to have good straight lines. And then you can see here, this is the 2x2 that I was telling you about. It just goes across there, and it connects this row to this row so that everything in here is perfectly straight. I didn't want crooked lines. I wanted straight lines, so everything in here is straight. And it just looks so professional. It looks perfect. It looks like a legit, real coffered ceiling. But every one of these panels is capable of being moved. And if I really needed to, I could even remove them. It would just be a little work. But every one of them can be moved and gotten out of the way. But yeah, that's how I came up with this. So I hope that was helpful to you. And man, if you want to do this, look, just a couple of tips. What I did is, first I kind of got my measurements and figured out, all right, these are how big my panels are going to be. I wanted everything to look symmetrical in here, and you can see how, let's see, I'm kind of like standing in the middle of the room, and so I wanted this row that's right above me, this row of panels right above me, to be in the absolute center of the room. So I figured out where the center of the room was, took some measurements, and then I designed my grid based on that so that everything would be symmetrical and right down the middle, okay? And so then I took my measurements, measured things, popped lines with my chalk box so that I had good straight lines everywhere. And then it was just a matter of putting up the 2x4s and making sure that everything was stayed lined up with those chalk lines. And then it was just a matter of doing the cross pieces to tie everything together. And then it was just a matter of putting all this trim on there. I did all of it with wood screws and then came back, filled it all in with sheetrock mud. I'm telling you, that is easy, it's cheap, and it's not hard to work with. And then I painted it all, and it is done. If you want that finished look, but you want to retain the ability to be able to get into that, that ceiling area, this is probably be a good idea for you. I think it looks really good. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. If I gave you any inspiration whatsoever, if it helped you in the least little bit, please make sure you like this video so that other people will see it. And also consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to be posting some more videos. And so, like I said, I'm going to post some videos about these LED lights and how you can do those to work inside the ceiling. I'm going to talk some more, like I said, about how we did the plumbing down here in the basement. And it's not hard at all to do. You just have to get the right stuff to do it. And yeah, maybe some other, I'll talk some more about some other things that I did down here. But that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed. See ya.